Launch. Here we are. What is this, episode 214?
Yeah. We're here.
We are. It's been a minute.
Yeah, we haven't had a THP in probably a month now, ish. I don't even remember what the last one was, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It's just been, man, I don't know. This year's just been, I feel like this year's been way more chaotic than it was last year, just in terms of everyone's schedules, like across the board. Everything's just been squirrelier.
I mean, you just have a lot more on your plate this year, buddy.
I don't even think that's it. I think it's like, it's some of that, but then it's also like putting Flip and Tin in the rotation and, personal life.
Blame it on me.
I'm gonna blame Sky wholeheartedly. Nah. He's the Trojan horse that brought it down. Snuck right in there.
Yeah.
But we're here. This is THP episode 214, brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. Check them out, Facebook, Instagram. Use the code THN24. It is no longer just THN, it's THN24.
Yes.
Get 10% off your order. Save even more and pick the pickup option instead of shipping if you're in the general Southeast region. I mean, hey, if you're Pacific Northwest and you feel like making that haul, go for it. Make a thing of it. But otherwise,
get you a little southeastern vacation in. Come on now.
That's right. It's hot. It's humid. It's horrible. But you'll have fun.
It's bad. It's really bad. Dude, it was like I wanted to go road cruising the other night, and I looked at my weather.
And you realized anything on the road would be a charcoal briquette.
Yeah, it was supposed to be 88 degrees at 9 o'clock at night. I was like, I'm not even gonna waste the gas. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, we're having heat indexes in like the triple digits, man. It's nuts. Yeah. It was like 110 or something crazy the other day, and it's just it's freaking brutal.
It's bad.
I mean, nothing moving.
It's the dark period for herping right now, unfortunately. So until it rains. So this weekend, hopefully.
But even then, it rains and it's like boiling water falling from the sky. It's just
but it still makes stuff move for the most part.
Yeah, for survival.
It's mostly like, this time of year you're looking at like aquatics later at night during a rain. It's pretty much your best bet. And who doesn't love finding Nerodia? So,
I do.
Yeah,
I was gonna say it depends on who you ask. So BlackBox cages, check them out. Shop around. You need a rack, you need a cage. BlackBox has it, and you will love it.
Lots of customization options, y'all. Whether you like lights, LEDs, UVBs, you want the heat emitters, heat panels. You get them all. You can get double swing doors, single swing doors, sliding doors. The options are endless, and you can pretty much,
if you can dream it, you can do it.
You can make your cages exactly how you want them. And they have, with the newest racks that they've come out with, they pretty much have almost any size you would need for any species that is able to be kept in a rack.
Goldilocks shit.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. You guys will not regret it, and that is on THP. That's on the whole network.
That's right. And then what goes great with BlackBox cages?
Steve Snaketuary hot sauce.
Steve Snaketuary's hot sauce. The whole lineup.
I'll send a rat snake to somebody who sends me a video. Actually, posts a video of them licking Steve Snaketuary hot sauce off a BlackBox rack.
Please be clothed. Let's go ahead and
tell her keep your clothes on.
Please be clothed. And we're not paying for anything you send us as far as videos go. It's not that kind of challenge.
No. But you get a rat snake
Steve
out of it.
Snaketuary, that's right. I'll throw a corn in.
Hey,
how about that?
That's right.
Double
Come on
down.
Now. Double down.
Steve does a lot of awesome public outreach, does a lot of public education, relocations, rehabilitations, takes in unwanted herps that people have as pets that may not be in the best of shape, gets them on the mend, gets them into good homes. He's doing a lot. So please check it out. Facebook and Instagram as well. Steve Snaketuary, SteveSnaketuary.com. And then Fulvius Apparel.
Shameless plug.
Everyone needs to. You need to wear a shirt. Most people, at least. Like The Rock can probably get away with not, but for the most part, us normies, we got to be clothed or we go to jail. The only way you get out of not going to jail because you're not clothed in public indecency is you go to fulviusapparel.com, get yourself some shirts, and then you use the code THN at checkout there, and you get 15% off your order, which is the exclusive promo code for THN listeners and viewers like you.
Yes, sir.
Zach, your order's going out tomorrow. I just boxed it up and got the label done and all that stuff. So,
and you have a false water cover shirt now.
I do, thanks to the Dr. Crawdad himself.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get the students that work with the exact animals that are on the shirt. I messaged like 30 of them. It's like, guys, it's Gaia and Clyde.
These are your babies. Yeah.
So,
isn't that cool? He used a herping picture a really good picture that I took of a rat snake for one of his shirts, and I was like, it's so cool. But I actually have a print of that on my wall up here.
Very cool. Thank you for doing that for all the false water keepers in the world there, Smitty.
Fucking nerds.
Well, that worked out because that was one species that I got a lot of requests for. So
yeah,
when you were like, hey, you want to do a false water cobra shirt, I was like, absolutely. And he was like, do you need stuff for it? And I said, hell yeah, I do. And so he just gave me a whole Google Drive folders worth of photos to pick and play with. And
that's what happens when you write a book. You have literally hundreds of photographs and folders. So
yeah,
wild. So that's available. That's up. I don't think there's anything new outside of that.
I don't know where I was at on clutches last time we spoke, as far as new stuff goes.
Yeah, I don't know. I had Corns Hatch. Long story short, Annery Motley male that was the sire to this clutch that I didn't know what hets he had floating around. He's had hypo because I had some ghosts hatch. Female was a Coral Ghost Aztec. Chris texted me yesterday upset because he's like, I bred that female somewhere between like 2 and 4 times and never once got a single Aztec looking snake out of it. And then I got this clutch that has a couple. And then I was like, does it really count as an Aztec if it's only like 4-ish saddles that would be fused together to make that Aztec look? Because I was like, I feel like it kind of has to be the whole thing to really count. And he said no, but I think he's biased. I think he's just upset. So
I mean, that's like saying is a pied still a pied if it only has a little bit of white. You know, if it's there, it's there. Just not a very high expression form of it.
I don't know.
Yeah. But
there's like one I'm gonna hold back. I think everything else,
dude. That one that you had
is so clean.
That ghostly looking striped,
the
hippopotamus thing, dude. Oh my god, dude.
Hippopotamus thing.
I don't know, dude. I just see corns and I go pretty, and I keep walking. I don't know.
There you go. Me too. So those are all out. 100% hatch rate, no issues. Popped everything as I was setting it up, and it looks like currently I'm at like a dead split 5.6.6.
Nice.
So that's
ideal.
Was neat.
Cool.
Next up to hatch are the rhinos next month. And they're going to be awesome. I don't care what Jix is.
No, man.
Little horns popping out of eggs. I can't help but
I mostly
like
do it.
Again.
I mostly do it as a joke at this point. Rhinos are super cool, man. Barons are just better, but you know, it is what it is.
You have good taste, Jake.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't encourage him, Doc.
You're talking to two guys who love Barons and love Nerodia. I don't know what
you're talking to one guy who literally gave Justin his rhinos so he could make more room for Bear and I.
Yes.
I don't think he knew what monster he was creating. He did that though.
Oh you ruined him.
I've fed your Asian addiction quite a bit.
Yes, you have. He just kept popping up with new stuff. He's like, yeah, I got these from Zach. I got these from Zach. Got these from Zach. I'm like, how much shit did you get from Zach?
I just put in the Propeltus and gave him all my Asian rats. So
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Worked out.
You did. We're both happier. There you go.
Yeah.
Although I will say that male rhino that Christian Parr sent me, that dude is an absolute psychopath.
It's a freaking unit.
He's like, remember how I talk about Brettles and like the 5%ers, like 95% of Brettles are going to be awesome and be like the coolest snakes you ever own, and then the 5% are just going to be absolutely horrible. This dude's a 5%er because like I was taking the hide out to clean the water bowl the other day, and he just started trying to eat the hide, like going after it and like grabbing it. And if I like pick him up, I can feel him wrapping around my hand like he's gonna latch onto it and start trying to eat it too. And I'm like, he's like Captain Boomerang in Suicide Squad when he came flying out of the duffel bag and punched that dude for no reason.
Dude, I'd almost rather like the jump bite, like the defense bite, than that bite to where you're holding him and they just like nose you. They're like,
that's going to be a gnaw, is what that's about to be. It's not going to be a bite. That's going to be a gnaw.
I hate that shit, dude, because it's like you know it's coming and there's nothing you can do.
The whole time you're going, no.
Ah, damn.
There it is. It's terrible, man. I've got a rat snake that'll do that. My big Santa Rosa white oak. He's a fine snake, man, but he's just kind of dumb. And you take him out and he'll wrap around you, and all of a sudden he's like,
hey,
you know, and it's like,
that hand looks tasty.
Damn it, dude. Like, it's terrible.
Yeah, I'm legitimately concerned to pair this male with another female because I'm afraid that he's either going to like severely injure her or try to eat her.
Just monitor. If you monitor him for like an hour, it'll probably be all right. It's that initial introduction that you really got to worry about. Every
introduction he thinks that he can get, whether it's a hand or an inanimate object.
It might be different when it's not on his turf. You know, put him in her cage.
I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah.
But hey, we're here.
Yeah.
ColubridFest is coming up, and that's what we're here to talk about. But Jake, what?
No, never mind.
I'm sorry.
I don't even care. I don't even care. ColubridFest. We're gonna move on. That's what we're here to talk about.
But I was saying before we get into ColubridFest, what new Colubrid things does Jake have going on in his room? Speaking of ColubridFest, Jake, what's new?
It's okay. I'm used to being forgotten. It's fine. I don't even care. No. I think last time we talked, I think I've gotten 2 clutches since then. I got what's in the incubator right now are fork line gophers, Apalachicola white oaks, Santa Rosa white oaks, Seminole County yellows, Deckard's rats or Southern Key Largo. And I think that's everything in the incubator right now. And then my albino Florida pine is gravid as hell.
Hell yeah.
She's gonna drop. Should be any day. So I think we're on day 10 post prelay shed. And she's looking real uncomfortable, real big. So should be any day now that she drops. We're super excited about those. And then for you, Zach, we have Citrus County Banded Waters.
Nice.
Gravid, 2 of them right now. So
do you have any idea when those are going to drop?
I have no idea. I don't know what I'm doing with Nerodia. I just like, they're both really, really fat and the male keeps breeding them. I don't know why, but they're both really, really big and they look like.
I'm going to tell you one thing, a little bit of advice. I did not get this advice from our good friend, Montross. I had those snakes in these Vivs, right? And I didn't know that they didn't do a pre-birth shed. So I'm just sitting there waiting for the pre-birth shed, I don't know what to say because they're not laying eggs, but you know what I mean? Pre-parturition shed to be technical. And then the next thing you know, my wife is doing laundry, which is right beyond that wall. And she's like, there's a baby snake in here. And I was like, I haven't had any baby snakes because nothing had hatched yet. And then I walk in and I was like, oh,
Plausible.
There on the ground that's the very first Nerodia produced in this house that I saw was on my floor because they got out of the damn ventilation vents and I didn't know. I wasn't like ready for it.
Right.
And I had to put a door sweeper on the door. I came in here at night, was herping in the room. You know how that works. But after that, the females, I got a little bit nutty with them, and when they got to be late, I put them in big rack tubs with very small holes, so that would never happen again. So
yeah, that's my only thing with because I really want to set like this trio up because they're really nice. As far as bandits go, most probably wouldn't think they're the prettiest. They're just really dark. They're really speckled. They have like white spots all over them. They're really cool. And I really want to display them, but that's like my biggest worry is if whenever they give birth, is those babies just leaching out through the. I actually had a similar thing back when I had to move back into my parents' house for a couple months several years ago for some stuff, and it was right when you sent me the group of Ponchatulas, and I had them all in this tub, and I was like, they won't get out of here, like it's fine. And I had them all in there, all 5 of them, freaking nutcases. And my mom busted in my room at like 3 a.m. She's like, Jacob, there's a snake in the house. I was like, why is there a snake in the house? I was like, it's not mine. I get up and like I pick up a flip flop and there's this little snake sitting there. It's dark out, or it's dark in the house. So I just grab it and I looked at it. I was like, oh, this is mine. Oops. All right. Sorry, Mom. She's like, the cat was trying to play with it. I was like, shit.
Yep.
So yeah, that happened. But this will be the first time producing Nerodia. And it's funny, the females have actually had 2 sheds since I've known they've been gravid.
No, it's a little bit maddening. Like you're like, okay, they should give birth now, and then they don't.
Yeah, and they're
like, oh well, there's no nothing to let you know this is about to happen. You just stay around and wait.
Yeah, so. And they get so swollen, dude. Like when the rat snakes are gravid, like they get big, but like the Nerodia, like the whole back half is just like this freaking hot dog, dude. And I'm like, just drop the freaking babies, dude. Because I have I'm supposed to bring some to 2 people.
Leave the mothership.
Yeah, I'm supposed to bring a group to Montrose and my buddy Derek. To Daytona, and I'm like, shit. I hope at this point, like I thought they were already been here. Now I'm like, I hope they go.
I told you to just start rolling them like a tube of toothpaste, and they'll come right out, dude. You wouldn't listen to me.
No, I'm not doing that. So I'm waiting on those, but the albino pines, dude, that was like the one pair this year that I was like, if anything goes, like I want those to go. And it was actually complete opposite of what you told me, Justin, about like as soon as you pull them out, because somebody told Justin at Daytona that as soon as you pull them out of brumation, pair them up because that's when they're gonna cycle. It's like right after. Literally the last things to go for me by a long shot. And Chris is having the same situation with his Southerns. And somebody else literally just got eggs the other day from their Florida/Southerns, whatever. And I'm like, okay, so is it like a later thing for them? Like,
look, guy, I don't know. I was just telling you what I was told.
Hey, I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying you were wrong, and that's okay.
If I don't know
and he wants it recorded.
All time.
Just on for the record, Smitty was wrong, and but no, I'm
trying to help.
No, you helped. But I just kept them together, dude. I was like, y'all are staying together till you give me freaking eggs, and this is just how we're gonna do that. And it worked.
That's how you should do everything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I probably should have done that last year, but I didn't. I got scared after a couple months. I was like, nothing's happening. Like I'm taking them out. So, but this year they were more mature. Gone through a season. This was a year first, man. I got Pituophis for the first time, and the albinos would be number 2 for Pitts, and then Nerodia for the first year. So this was good.
Cool.
Although I'm uber excited about my Deckards. I only got 5 eggs from those, at least good eggs. But man, I'm so freaking excited about those little rat snakes, man. They're so cool. But yeah, that's about everything that's going on here.
Cool.
So,
ColubridFest.
Yes.
It's coming.
So obviously people have heard it, and everybody kind of knows what the deal is. And Clint, I guess this one's a little bit more directed towards you. What made you be like, first off, of course, tell everybody what ColubridFest is, but tell us why. What made you turn it into the three-headed monster that it is now? He said, "What's a barbecue? I don't know what that is." We're turning this into a whole thing, and everybody's just going to get on board. So, what was the inspiration?
Including Zac.
Yeah, Clint didn't even ask Zac. He told Zac. He's like, "No, we're doing
I'm making this happen. You're either there or you're not."
While we were recording.
You're coming or you're not. I don't care. And this is what's
so. The story of ColubridFest on kind of how it came to be.
It's really funny.
First, I guess I have to explain a little bit about just me. For really my entire life, but especially the last 20 years in my career, it's always been about make it bigger, grow it. You know what I mean? And to a fault sometimes. And it's not that I necessarily feel that that you got to be the best, but I feel you have to give your best at anything you want to do type of thing. Right.
Yeah.
And so when we were, I don't remember if it was that some of our listeners had asked us if we were going to put on a ColubridFest, or if it was Zac who had first mentioned that term, wanting to do that because of just kind of the role in the Colubrid community, that we were playing at this point, that it's, I heard that. Now, understand, I had heard of Carpet Fest, but I guess I didn't really understand what it was. So, I mean,
it's like, this was an accident. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you say the word fest, what I mean? That's big in my mind, right? And so, whenever Zac said, we should do ColubridFest, and I'm like, okay, let me see what I can do. And so I started, some groundwork and getting some things, feeling it. And I thought the whole time, this is what we expected, because, we've always said that our philosophy on the show, and really our whole in-game goal, is when all is said and done and we're too old and decrepitated to do CCR anymore, what I hope we've accomplished is we've moved the gap between academia and hobbyist. We've been able to shrink it. We want to create more of a bridge and a unity there. And that's really, Zac and I are so just in sync for that. And so, for ColubridFest, I knew we don't want just a show. We don't want, it's how do we do that? How do we get both sides, to start coming together? And so, my mind starts working through all the pieces that have to come into play that would appeal to those worlds. Because there's already things that appeal to this one or this one, and a little bit of crossover for the people who like both. But how can we get all in one setting, right? And that wasn't going to be a talk. That wasn't going to be a show. That was going to be an event. And that's what we had to do. It had to be a fest. It had to be an event. So I started kind of mapping out what this would look like and what we would do. And when I said it to Zac, Zac's like,
huh?
Yeah. What? Yep.
And he calls me. He sends me a text. And he's like, so I want to talk about ColubridFest for a second. He says, so Carpet Fest is, and it goes to say, it's a few guys get together, they have a barbecue, they hang out at the pool. He goes, so I thought, ColubridFest was going to be that. And I'm like, no.
I didn't get that memo.
No. But to be fair, I'm just like Clint. Like, professionally, I drive my staff at West Liberty insane. Because Zeusai, when the original connotation of the animal collection at Zoosci, I found the email was, we will have 10 animals. And we're at 400, and one of them is a 7-foot lizard in a $40,000 cage.
Gnarly.
Like, you know, so that's where Clint and I are very, very dangerous together. Because to be honest, you know, I had the ability to be like, no.
Oh, absolutely.
But I believe all I did was like, I mean, granted, I will fully admit there was shock and awe there, because I was like, whoa, hamburgers, lectures.
Like, I need a
like,
lot of them. Yeah.
You know, but then I thought, you know what, let's do it. Like, it was literally like, I think I hesitated for maybe a minute and a half. Now, I don't know what episode of CCR it was where this was just laid out. But I remember listening to it and being kind of like, yeah, you can hear in my voice. Like, if you know me, you can tell when the bomb hit the brain and the brain's like,
oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But,
I because I listened to that episode and I heard Clint talk about it, and Zach, like, you heard Zach, like, his whole brain just kind of went, for like a second. It was like, okay. Like,
yeah. But that was literally the hesitation. Was just that.
And Zach's absolutely right, because it didn't, I mean, you know, it said that, and I was like, you know, here's my vision, man. Here's what here's what I thought our vision was, and I didn't realize. But as soon as I said, he's like, absolutely, you know, and I love it. Let's do it. You know, I think it was Zach's only hesitation there in, you know, that moment was, it wasn't his arena. You know, it wasn't something he was used to, is pushing something like this forward. But, you know, obviously, you know, on board immediately. And then it was, okay, let's talk about kind of who's doing what and what that looks like. And so then it was clear, okay, there's different pieces that it is going to require my wheelhouse, his wheelhouse, but we both knew to put this on, it was going to require someone who had a wheelhouse neither one of us had.
Yep.
And so we knew we had to have someone with a actual reptile show promotion, you know, background, because we've never done that. You know, we don't do that. We both, Zach obviously is going to be able to stack the deck with some phenomenal speakers and presenters. And, you know, what I love about this guy is, while, you know, we always say he's the academia side, Zach's not some boring professor, you know what I mean, that you put his lecture on so that you can go to sleep at night. You know, it's not that, you know, he's so engaging, and he understands how that has to look, how to keep a captivated audience. And so I know that, I mean, that Saturday for ColubridFest, which is the educational side, this is the piece that is going to bring, you know, the academia segment. It's going to be interactive. It's going to be engaging. It's going to, whether you are brand new to the hobby, the discipline, or you are and I say what others would consider expert level, because I think most of us who really, really do this never want to consider ourselves an expert at any of it. You know, we consider ourselves versed, you know, but it's, some of us have made a lot more mistakes than others, you know, kind of thing. But we don't call ourselves experts. But it doesn't matter what your tenure, so to speak, in, you know, in this arena is, you're going to enjoy that day. It's going to be great. And, you know, so that is the Saturday. I'll take one step back. The Friday of ColubridFest, now we will have some sort of event. We haven't fully mapped out what that is going to be, but we will have a focalized point that kind of kicks off the evening, so to speak. And then it's going to be kind of a mixer of sorts, right? Where I think what I'm looking forward to that night is, I know there are going to be so many people that are talking to one another that night that say, gosh, you know, we've been friends on Facebook for years, but it's the first time we're ever meeting in person. And that's exciting to me. You know, that's really, really cool. I know for a fact there's several that it's going to be my first time getting to meet them in person.
It reminds me, I haven't been to Daytona, but THP crew.
Literally what I was going to bring up. Yeah.
Their pilgrimage to Daytona. And you all talk about the patio, I think it is. Where you all
gazebo.
Stogies gazebo.
We're doing that Friday night to get everybody jiving. And it's also the thing that I love about this, which is really weird because, you know, I always say this on the show. Clint says on the show, we're both kind of introverted people, you know, but I'm not introverted around snake people, you know. So it's going to be nice to actually, the community building that's going to happen with this is what is most important in my mind. Some people are going to walk away with a snake. Some people are going to walk away, you know, with new friends, which is great. But the thing I'm going to really enjoy is at the end of ColubridFest, when Sunday's done and we're exhausted and we're driving home, the number of actual legit human connections that's going to go down. That's the most important thing. And this is just the first one. Like our goal is to have the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth, and then basically just build and build and build and build. And this is what I've always envisioned. This is why I didn't fight it at all. I've always thought that this is what herpetoculture was missing. Like there's the whole going to the show and hanging out at the whatever auction afterwards and maybe going out to dinner. But as an educator, I've always thought like we're missing this golden opportunity because we do this for the nerd. Like lots of us do this for the nerdiness of it. And actually going somewhere and having like Matt Most up on the stage talking about establishing old world rat snakes.
It's going to be a good talk.
You know, and then people in the audience that have watched Matt's progression as a herpetoculturalist, they have to have questions they've always wanted to ask Matt. And then they're going to have the ability to do that, but their questions are probably what other people's questions are. And that's, you know, when we talk about the academia part, that's what we're actually talking about.
Right.
It is, you know, giving that, having that, and then the break happens, and then you can go talk to Matt some more, or the guy or gal you're sitting next to may have asked a question, and you think, I've thought that too. Then you spark up a conversation with them, and then so it just builds the community. And that's why we're really kind of geeked and jazzed about this, because that was how it used to be, not necessarily with the talks, but like you got to. I remember in the '90s, I would go to reptile shows, and I would talk to people because I wanted to know what the hell are you doing to keep this damn thing alive? Because we didn't, you know, and that piece isn't really, it's not that it's not present. It's just very, very different. So maybe bringing a bit of that nostalgia back of the human connection piece.
And that's
in that environment, that's what we're all about.
And that's probably the main reason I want to go. Is because like, you know, there's like, you know, like there's shows like Pomona, then there's shows like Daytona. And, you know, Justin and I have said for years, half the fun of Daytona is just seeing everybody.
That's like the main reason I even really want to go.
The show is incredible. You know, we love it. But getting to hang out and see all these people that you only get to see at these things, you know, I'm lucky if I get to see some of these guys more than at Daytona. Like this year I got lucky, you know, I see Sky, you know, a couple times a year. That's inevitable. But getting to see Phil, you know, like again, I got lucky seeing him a couple weeks ago, but like guys like Phil and Billy and literally some of the people that I consider family to now is like, I really only get to see them at Daytona. And, you know, I also, even though it does kind of suck, it's in Indianapolis for me, but it is that's, you know, it's a selfish thing, but it's much more central as far as everybody goes. Because people from the Northwest, Indianapolis is a bit easier than Florida.
Yep.
You know, so like it's one of those things like, yeah, it's going to be far for the East Coast guys. It's going to be far for the West Coast guys, but it's that kind of like in between that kind of everybody can go. And like, that's the biggest reason I want to go is just to see everybody. Like meeting you two would be just fantastic alone, you know, and
feelings mutual, bud.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, and that's like really the main reason I want to go. Of course, an only Colubrid show is like, what? that's amazing, you know, but just to hang out and being able to see everybody and, you know, and build the relationships. Cause like it's different, you know, like Sky, for instance, you know, when he first reached out to me on Instagram and I didn't really know how to feel about him. I was like, I don't really know him. He just kind of like, didn't know how to place him. And then I met him at Daytona. I was like, oh, like I fuck with this dude. Like I'm about it. And now we're best friends, like I love the guy to death, and we do a podcast together. So like meeting people in person is so important. And I think that was half the reason Carpet Fest got started, was to make a place. Yeah, exactly. Just so people could see each other, meet each other. And that's why I've really tried to go to, a couple Carpet Fests, and I've been to 3, I think. And it's a great time, but I feel like this is kind of like Carpet Fest on steroids kind of thing, and I mean, hats off to you both for putting in the work for it, man. I mean, this is a big thing. And I think bringing Mickey into the fold was a great idea.
And that's one of the things I wanted to make sure that we said. Mickey's not here, but this couldn't have happened without him.
Right.
Hands 100%. Down.
Yeah, the logistical nightmare involved in planning even the small shows that he does. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it's God bless him.
And Mickey actually, and I've said this, when talking about ColubridFest, Mickey messaged me about it. He was already, yes, he was already on the plan. He just didn't know it, because I thought that we were going to have to pitch this idea. And think about it, when you unless it's someone who really has a feel for what's going on, within the entire industry, to say, hey, we want to do a reptile show, but you can't have anything but this, right? And it's, that's going to be a hard sell. So
yeah, it's very obscure.
Yes.
Like, it's very different.
It is, when you think about it, but then there's Zach, you'll be able to correct me, but what is there, like over 2,000 species that fall within, the colubroid kind of realm. So, there's really a lot to it. We just don't see it represented out there. And so I wanted to start getting some of the groundwork done so that I could take this, and it was going to be to Mickey, and go, look, here's all the people we have interested in vending. I've already got half of your vendors right here that, want to do it. You just need to get the other half, kind of thing. Here's the kind of response we're having from people who want to go. Here are the cities that we've looked at. Here are the laws, here, everything. And one of the first questions I put out there was, what city would you vend and or attend if ColubridFest happened? And I had, something like, 15 cities, something like that. And 70% of the people that replied chose Indianapolis as one of the cities. And so it was, the clear number one choice. And then there were other things that made it make sense. The laws in Indiana are favorable for colubrids. Indianapolis is a city that's easy to get in and out of if you're flying. Really? Every interstate in the Midwest runs to it, so there's just a lot of positive reasons to do it there. And Mickey messaged me directly, and he didn't say what he was talking about. He didn't ask any questions. The one line was, do it in Indianapolis. That was one line. And so I called him right then, and, he knew he goes, man, you need to do this. This is awesome. I love this idea. I love the educational aspect of it. And I go, well, hold on, Mickey, listen. And he starts giving me ideas. You should try this, do this. And I go, whoa, Mickey, I don't want you to tell me what I need to do. I want you to do it. That's what we're calling you for.
I don't think you're understanding this here. Like, I need you.
Yeah. And so then, kind of explain to him, look, man, you were always on the docket. I just thought I was going to have more of it together before, Zach and I brought this to you. And so then the three of us got on a Zoom together and talked it all out. Mickey was stoked because for Mickey, obviously the Show Me Show promotion, it's now the largest reptile show promotion in the country. He's in like over 50 cities at this point. Yeah. And so he's got the most shows, and for him, he felt like he was getting too far away from the education, because when he first started, he was doing so much education more in the St. Louis area, where he is from and where he started. But, when you get so big, you get so busy, he's moved away from that. And he's like, and I want it. I want to get back to that. I want to be able to be a part of that. So he was on board immediately. And, big man. And I don't know if it's the kind of thing to talk about, but big man's footing the bill. Yep. And that is, and it's a bill.
It's a bill.
Yes. to do this. So, I mean, I can't thank him enough for coming on board and making this, a reality with us. So,
yeah. And I can only imagine like this will also give him ideas for future shows. Like, I think, although he's helping you a lot, like, I do think this will kind of give him an idea to, if he wants to incorporate educational stuff in some of his other shows, this will give him a good idea of how to do that and what is involved in doing that. And, I think y'all are working together very, very well. Like you're kind of going to help each other, and of course, Mickey being the venue for it, it's only going to help, the show me shows. So, I think it's great what y'all are doing, what y'all are trying to achieve, man, because I think we can all agree that colubrids are on the up and up,
Oh, yeah. They certainly, and they have been for a while,
Yeah. That's,
and I'll say too, there's more to it that I think that some don't really fully understand what they're going to get out of it. And I say that because, and I talked to Zac about this, and I can't thank Zac enough for really pushing IHS.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's the reason that I went to IHS, and what IHS did for me. And here's the thing I really want to point out to anyone who is coming as a vendor to ColubridFest, because one of the complaints that has been lobbed at Mickey about ColubridFest from the vendors is it's only a one-day show. You got this whole weekend thing, but it's only a one-day show. Because, and again, when you're traveling, from wherever you're coming, you want to ensure it's going to be worth it for you 100%. And that's why a show had to take place. That's why I felt we had to have a Colubrid only show, because if you want to get more people here to experience this event, they have to be able to see animals. People want to come see the animals in person, right? They want to be able to look at a snake, not just hear about them. And in order to get people to bring animals, those people have to have the opportunity to have a financial win, at the same time.
100%.
It's part of it to make this all come together. Now, one point I want to make to the vendors on it being a one-day show versus two. You're going to make the same amount of money. You're just going to have to man a table one day less.
Yeah.
So it's because, let's think about it. When we look at Tinley, you can add Saturday and Sunday sales and say this much Saturday, that much Sunday, all you want to. But quite frankly, you see the same faces on Saturday that you do on Sunday.
100%.
So if it was, hey, everybody can come all weekend, but you can only buy on Sunday, guess what? Your sales would just be that much more on Sunday. That's just the truth of it, right?
So can I ask something real quick?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So obviously, like I'm not going to be vending, but my first thought, and this isn't a jab at all, it's more so just like a genuine question.
Put him in a body bag, Johnny.
and because this was a concern for me, yeah, I'm sure other people have thought about it. So I'm just curious what the thought process is. My first thought was the show being on Sunday sounds like it might be a little bit more difficult. And again, this isn't like a sly on what y'all are doing at all. But there's going to be a lot of people, such as myself. Like for Daytona, for example, I stay for half the day on Sunday and I head home because I've got work on Monday. And so my biggest concern was people staying for the weekend, kind of staying for the show on Sunday and then leaving early because they got to get home. So like, why do you think that a Sunday, specifically Sunday, if it was Saturday, I wouldn't even be asking you this, but like Sunday specifically, like just to help with your vendors, make them feel a little bit better about it. Why do you think Sunday will be okay for a one-day show?
Well, I think that in this, and in all fairness to the question, next year we may change it. This is a learning year.
And again, this isn't me. Like,
no, that's a good question.
Shots.
It's a great question, Jake.
What's that?
Can I speak to this as a potential buyer?
Yeah.
So, I've not done Daytona lately, but I've done Tinley for the past 2-3 years. And, let's be real. This is not going to be Tinley sized, right?
No.
But I can get into Tinley and I can do my rounds and I can do my first initial round in about an hour and 15 minutes because 100%. When I go to a show, I usually know what I want or what I'm looking for. I got that kind of, target, if you will, or let's be real, targets. And so then I do my initial loop.
Yeah.
And then I remember this guy has this guy has that, this gal has this, blah, blah, blah. And then I do on my second round, unless there's something that I just need to have, that's when I start talking business, if you know what I mean. So assuming that people do that, even if you've got to get out of there in the afternoon, you're still going to have the time to do that, if you know what I'm saying. Now,
that's a good point.
It might be a little bit rushed depending on who you are. I mean, I run around a friggin' reptile show when I go to a reptile show, like those supermarket game shows.
Yeah.
Because I was just taught with the Columbus show, to be honest with you, like you get there when the door opens, you run around, you get what you want, and then you then I do the socializing, all that kind of stuff. So I think that as long as you're there with the first 3-4 hours, because we're gonna have vendors, but I don't think we're going to be Tinley sized vendors. So I think that you'll have plenty of time to get around to the vendors. And the other thing is this: if the vendors do it right, they're going to be there Saturday and Friday, and there's nothing saying you can't be talking about what the hell you got.
That's a good point.
Let's be real. I know Eric Westmoreland, friend of your show, friend of our show. I know he's coming. He's jazzed. It's actually not that big of a drive for Eric. I promise you, if Eric is the Eric I know, he's going to be marketing on social media like a mother. I'll have this at ColubridFest. I'll have this at ColubridFest. I'll have this at Colubrid. So, you just have to be a little bit more strategic. Yeah. And then you got to be a little bit more strategic. If you're getting out of there, because got to get a plane ride or catch a plane, try to catch one in the afternoon. And then we're all herpers. We could do an all-nighter driving.
I'll also say this. Typically, the reason that the individuals are taking off early on Sundays is because they've already walked around all day Saturday and they're not seeing anything new on Sunday. So it's, you know what I mean? They're going to be much more intrigued on this Sunday show than they are the second day of a 2-day show anywhere else.
Yeah. And it makes, when you put it like that, it does make a lot more sense. Cause I do the same thing. There was Daytona last year. I think I bought one snake on Sunday, and it was because I'm going to hold out on this guy because it was an
absolutely
snake. It was an expensive snake. I'm like, come on, man, last day of the show. What can you do for me?
That's 100%. That is what Sundays are on a 2-day show. Yeah. I'm a vendor at Tinley. I know what Sunday is. Sunday is you've come by my table 6 times. Now you're going to come make an offer to see if I'll take it. I get it. I mean, that's what it is. So I think that it's going to be much better than what any other Sunday shows typically are on a 2-day.
Yeah, 100%. And it's also in the same aspect. Like if somebody can stay for the whole day instead of, hey man, last day of the show, it's gonna be like, hey man, last 2 hours of the show. What do you do?
Absolutely. That stuff always happens, and it's going to happen. And I'm okay with it because sometimes there is shit that I want to go, cheaper than what I've got.
And that's the thing. I'm never that guy that's like, I'll give you this. I'm more so like, what do you do for it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I hate offering, it's more so like, will you come off and you tell me what's going to make me bring it home?
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
$600 snake. I'll give you 100 for it. Take it or leave it.
So, one thing I want to finish on is because I said, I thank Zac for getting me to come out to IHS, because what I told him afterwards, what was so great about IHS, and I'm saying this because I want the vendors to really hear this and think about it. I couldn't tell you the last time that I got to go to a reptile related event, a reptile related anything, that I didn't have to think about a financial piece. And that's not a Clint's all about the money. Trust me. I wish. No, this is
no, but when you're traveling and stuff like that stuff matters,
yes,
especially
when
if you're trying to
when you're
show.
And I mean, if you're doing this for a living, if you have to be cognizant of expenses, you have to be cognizant
especially full time.
Yeah, if you are going to generate enough revenue to not only make it worth it, but to come out ahead. And when I was at IHS, there was no sales. I didn't have to do any of that. None of that was on my radar. It was simply, I got to listen to individuals talk about their collections, their reptiles, and not to talk about, hey, there's this and this. Do you have something that fits in? It wasn't that. It was just listening to the care. It was meeting new people. It was just getting to be engrossed in the whole reptile arena and not have to worry about smiling at somebody I didn't want to, or any of that stuff. It was just getting to experience the hobby that I came into in the first place, the thing that I grew up loving. And so I got to just wipe the shop away for a little while. Right. I didn't have to, not only, wasn't looking at, okay, what snakes am I selling? Okay, who's got something I need to purchase for the shop? All of that was gone. And I just got to enjoy it. And so the vendors who are coming in, you're going to have just as good a sales on Sunday as you would have if you were set up for 2 days, except on Saturday, you're going to just get to be. Right. You're going to get to enjoy what brought you into this in the first place. And that, I'm telling you, is going to rejuvenate you. It's really going to be invigorating.
Yeah. And I think for as far as the sales go on Sunday, it's like, it's all just going to happen a lot faster. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be some people that has a flight at 1 o'clock and they're going to run through the show and be like, here's money, give me my shit. And we're going,
Well, and the great thing too about Colubrid people is typically it's not like ball python people where they're going to walk around for not a shot at ball python people.
Okay. There it is.
But it's, when I say this, it's because yes, there are times I have ball pythons on the table. I know how this goes. Right. It's, if they see XYZ B ball python, they like it. They look at your price and they want to walk around and see, a dozen others and
the other prices.
Yes. And then see who's going to take, okay, who's is the lowest? Then I'm going to go to that person. I'm going to offer this amount to see if they'll take it, that kind of thing. Where with Colubrids, we're more of I think we know what the prices are. If there's an animal we're looking for, we're pretty, tuned in on what the ballpark is. Yeah. And so we're looking at the animal, not the price. Is that the quality of the animal that I'm after? And if it is, then I'm either buying it right there or I'm going to make my offer right here to this individual for this animal. I don't need to shop around for every Arizona Mountain King, in the building kind of thing. So I think that the sales tend to happen a little faster, with Colubrids. Yeah. The decisions are made much quicker because, and again, it's not, oh, well, this fit in a project. It's, I need that male. I don't have a male that right there. I need that. So
well, there's also not going to be, like you're saying, there's not going to be 50 others in the building to pick from and negotiate with. And the same thing.
And I've already said, I know I am going to spend more money than I make at this show because it's a candy store.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask Clint, are you vending?
I'm vending. I'm having people running my tables too, so I can move around. And
you're like, I'm gonna be there, but like they're running the show.
It's like a drug dealer selling you himself.
It's but it's also because we'll be set up, and then right next to the Metazotics setup will be the CCR setup. So we'll be there. We'll be around quite a bit, but I'm going to make sure I get to go shopping too. That's going to happen. Absolutely.
That's the other thing with like going. I'm like my wallet might let me go to the show, but I was like, will my wallet let me really let me be there? I don't know.
It's going to be good stuff. Another part that's exciting, and if Zach wants to take this one. We've not even talked about Saturday night yet and what makes Saturday night different than a lot of Saturday nights at any 2-day events. Yeah. So do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So there'll be an auction. That's pretty normal. I believe Daytona has an auction. Tinley has an auction. Schaumburg has all the NARBCs have auctions. And this certainly isn't a jab at US Arc in any way, but we kind of wanted to do something a little different with the auction. So one of the things we really, this is ColubridFest is literally Clint and I's idea of what herpetoculture could be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we got like Play-Doh, we can turn it into what we want. And one of the things that we both talk about, and one of the things that I literally live with my job, is conservation. And I've said on a couple podcasts, I actually will be going on Project Herpetoculture soon, and I think my episode is just on this. And it's this idea of like, what is conservation in herpetoculture? And one of the, on the one front, we love conservation. We love these animals. We want these animals to be on the planet. But on the next front, the agencies that are kind of putting the regs on us are conservation agencies. So then we end up having this weird relationship with conservation, because we all want there to be more snakes on planet Earth, but then the agencies that are kind of putting any restrictions on us, if they're going to happen, are conservation agencies. And I am certainly not digging on those individuals. I actually have a tendency to be pretty neutral. I know that there are some regs that the herpetoculture as a whole kind of views as horrible overreach. And I live in this weird nebulous place where I'm like, I can actually understand the biology behind that. So with that being said, I teach 2 conservation biology courses at West Leb, one for grad students, one for undergrads. And I don't care who you are as a conservation biologist, money is one of the most important forces for conservation. I mean, you've said it, Jake, with Flippin' 10. The most important thing is land. Like, we can breed things as much as we want. We can have all these crazy, really intricate studies being done on gene flow and captive propagation and everything, but just simply real estate. Like, the more land you have, the more gopher tortoises can live on that land, the more eastern diamondbacks and indigos can live on that land, all that.
100%.
So with that being said, we wanted our auction to go towards some kind of conservation project. And then to make it even more interesting, let's make it colubrid or colubroid centric. And so I know I just pitched it like, we're going to buy land. We're not going to buy land. But anyway, so what we're going to do with the auction is, it'll be just like any other auction. But we're going to dedicate that money towards some kind of project that is actively going towards the conservation of a North American colubrid or colubroid. So initially what we said is that we were going to give this money to, an agency. But then I started doing my research, and nothing against things like Eastern Indigos, but like the Orion Society there's this huge push that Eastern Indigos have, and they've got financial backing, and they've got federal level attention, and they got state level attention.
They're the sexiest North American colubrid.
Colubrid in North America.
Yeah.
So they're good.
Yeah.
They're kind of the flagship for this attention. So I wanted something else to get it. And then Clint and I were talking, and one of the issues that came about is like, well, we can give the money to an organization, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we are truly guiding the use of those funds to make sure it's going towards what we want. And so we have an idea floating around. I have emails out to make sure it's going to happen, but or to see if it's possible. But we're going to try to make it so that we are sitting at the table. We're conservation partners. Wherever this money goes from this auction. And then that way we can quite literally be giving updates when we're doing our recordings on like, here's what's being found. And let's just be real. A very logical place for that to go is to me, because I'm talking about giving this to everybody else. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a herpetologist and I'm doing field work. Like, it's like, I can definitely guarantee it's going to go towards what I say it's going to go towards. And so what we're going to do, hopefully, is I'm trying to get a couple conservation partners that I have worked with and basically be like, so if I can bring this money to the table and I'm willing to do, all the permitting process that I have to do to be able to do the work, is this a potential option? Like, could we potentially use this to do some science? And that's kind of our goal now. Initially, it was like, we're going to give all the money to the Memphis Zoo, and they do Louisiana pine snake research. And I'm certain that they would still go towards the pine snake research, but it might all go towards the rat bill. And I don't know if people necessarily want to buy the rats.
It's still a zoo.
Yes.
Let's be real.
But this is going towards a research lab where it's helping future biologists who are then being mentored by someone like me, who's never going to talk crap on herpetoculture. I'll talk crap on the crappy parts of herpetoculture. We all do that, but
absolutely,
so, and that's just further part of the vision that we have, because we want to be able to do that and show that herpetoculture, the private sector, can actually fund the science, which then leads to the data, which then helps with the conservation. That's been my dream since I started all of this. And Clint, of course, jumped right on board with that, and he's into this as well. But I also feel, and I say this all the time, that is the most powerful way to show, I'm not going to use the word fight, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, show the powers that be that are over-regulating, like, look, the funds that came to the conservation action for this imperiled animal were directly a result of selling corn snakes. And this is a captive population, and this is we're not letting people bring to the show necessarily, wild caughts. Mickey's really big on that. So if we can pull this off, I think that it's gonna create a model of how things could be done in the future. And so and then we can start a conversation and a dialogue with people about now look at, you're talking crap on these corn snake breeders, but they're the ones that funded that. So,
Right.
I love that so much.
Yes.
Just for the record, that's amazing. And, I think it also, all of that leads into also what ColubridFest is about, and bridging that gap between the educational side versus the keeping side, the biology side versus the captive side. And, because I feel like a lot of keepers don't have the same problem with the educational side as the educational side has with keepers.
You're right.
Because we
come from the educational side.
100%, and it's like
jealous.
It's one of those things. It's like, I know of so many people that are all about the educational biology, conservation side, that are like, basically F you for keeping these snakes in boxes, whereas a lot of people who keep snakes in boxes are also, very into field work and field herping and the conservation side of things, such as myself. That's just as important to me as captive keeping. So bridging that gap and using that as a way to be like, hey, we're not all bad. We might keep snakes, but it's not in a negative connotation. I think it's really important, and that's awesome. I love that it's going to something other than, and again, like you said, Zach, it's nothing against USARK or the Orion Society. No. Not at all. We all love both of those, and especially USARK, and but there's other things that need funding.
Yeah.
And we wanted it to go to conservation instead of legislation. That was
exactly.
kind of how we viewed this, and USARK certainly has its role to play in everything that we do. This was just, we felt like, hey, as you said, other places need a shot of funding.
They need some help.
And whenever they're small, it's just to throw a number. If there's $10,000 for USARK, they're not really going to notice that, in the grand scheme of things. But $10,000 into a small conservation effort that is studying a certain species, that's massive. That's massive. So that's kind of the thought process behind it. And as a side note, that even goes further than ColubridFest. This is something that Zach and I are doing now. We're in the process of. So we've established CCR Media, which is now the company that owns Colubrid and Colubroid Radio, and we are kind of doing a branch out of that and having a nonprofit account that's created for a conservation account. because we want to have any proceeds that come through CCR. There's going to be a set percentage that boom instantly go straight over to that conservation effort. Because we there's other things that we've already talked about on the show that we'll be doing, launching a Patreon. We've got sponsorship, for a couple things, and it'll get to the point where if individuals just want to donate to that conservation fund, they can, because it's a fund that we will give complete transparency on. This is what we have sent money out of that fund to. Every withdrawal. Here's what it is, and here's where it's going. So, we've got a lot of things we want to do. ColubridFest is certainly the biggest that we have, bitten off so far. And, we've had many conversations where the three of us, Zach, myself, and Mickey, we're hoping that, 20 years down the road, this is that once a year thing that we're still doing. We're still, it's the legacy that we leave behind. This is the thing that we were able to bring, to the herp community that can continue, for years on end.
Many moons to come.
So absolutely. It's something we are very, very passionate about, no doubt. So
it'll be good. The Carpet Fest and stuff, man, like there's something about that actually being around the people that you listen to and you follow and stuff. Meeting Eric Berg for the first time at Southeast Carpet Fest was like just surreal because I'm so used to listening to him for so long. That the fact that he's like standing there was just odd. It's like he's real. And I know Jake had a similar thing. Like you meet all these people at Daytona and stuff, and it's just you forget that there are actual people behind it. It's not.
Well, I'm going to keep poking the shit out of you guys because I've got this like dream at ColubridFest that will have you two. I'd love if Phil was there, Roy, Eric. Joe's coming from the Colubrid Corruption podcast. I would just love to have like this group photo with, all the voices, type of thing, that are out there, and just to show the camaraderie, that how much we all enjoy one another's shows. We enjoy what gets put out there from each other. And I just think it'd be great to show that and to see that. So,
and it's like one of those things to like, and I love that because it's like, it's to show that like, this isn't, it's not a competition, man.
No.
Like this isn't my podcast versus yours, who gets more views. This is just we are all doing our damn best to do the same thing and just better the hobby, better the animals, better conservation, and just to be better and do more. It's not about my views versus yours, it's just about everybody coming together and being like, we are trying to accomplish the same effing thing.
Yeah, I don't want a bigger piece of the pie. I want a bigger pie.
Yeah, that's period. The thing. And that's
what I want to have.
Yeah, and that's why it's like, to me, it's so important to be like, like these people are my family, dude, Justin and Chris and Sky and Phil. It's like I'm closer to them than I am to my actual brother. And like, yeah, that might be kind of sad, but like it at the same time, it's true, like these people have become so important to me, and it's huge, man. When you can build that camaraderie over a common factor, it's such a big thing, and it's really important for all of us to be a part of, and just to build those relationships, man. It goes so far. And meeting people in person, you think you like somebody over the internet, and that's the whole, like, there is like that kind of, there's always that thought process of like, don't meet your heroes, whatever. But like, it is so far from that in herpetoculture, in my opinion. Like I've never once been like, man, I wish I wouldn't have met that guy. You know, like I kind of just ruined it. You know, that's never happened for me, man. You know, like Chris is like a big brother to me. I love the guy to death, Chris Painchab. And it was like I loved him before I met him, and then I met him and I was like, this dude's my best friend. he's incredible, you know, and it can really there's really something to be said about it, man. You know, it's meeting people and people you look up to and people you've talked to online for so long. It's so important, man. That's why, like, even with Chris, the first time I met him, in person, I drove to Alabama in a day and back,
Montrose.
And it was just, Chris Montrose. Yeah, there's too many Chris's, man. But like with Montrose, that was like, I wanted to meet him so bad. And it was like, okay, I'm just going to go see him. Because I think that's something that has gotten lost because we have shipping and we have the internet. It wasn't like that back in the day. It was, if you wanted to go buy something off somebody, you drove to their house and you saw what they had and you left with what you wanted. And I do my best to really do that, to go see these people. And I try to make that drive to actually like meet these people in person because I think it's important.
Well, and like I said, even those that you talk to here and there, in person is so much different. In fact, a lot of people don't know Zac and I have only been in the same place 3 times. Is that right?
3, 2 Tinleys, 1 IHS.
And then IHS. Yeah. So 3 times is all we've ever been around each other. And it was funny at this last IHS. I don't remember what night it was, but Zac and I kind of walked off, sat down and started talking. Next thing we know, several hours have gone by. Everyone else is gone.
Yeah, we were the only two there.
Isn't that the best though?
Yeah, that's what I said. Zac, if you'd have said that the 2 of us would be the ones closing this place down, I'd have called you a liar because I'm usually asleep by 9. But I mean, it was so great how we had so much to talk about. It just. And we could have kept on, it was just, it was great.
Yeah. And you had to cut it off.
Yeah.
There are people that don't like to talk to people. Like,
right.
my wife was like, you did what? I was like, yeah, I talked to Clint for like 4 hours the other night.
She's like, you don't even talk to me for 4 hours.
You did what? I was like, yeah, I talked. And then that's exactly, well, I mean, we don't even talk for that long. I'm like, well, I've also been like married to you for 22 years. So there's kind of that too, So anyway.
That's how I feel with Justin nowadays. Yeah. It's like him and I rarely talk outside of the podcast anymore, but it's also because we've been doing this for 6 going on 7 years now. And it's like, okay, but we talk on the podcast.
Well, I can say, I mean, for Zac and I, that's how it was for a while, where it's just, like the day of the podcast. Hey, here's what we're going to do. We'll message back and forth. Now we're on the phone like 3 or 4 times a day.
I think it was 3 times a day.
Yeah. Because there's just so much to line up with what's going on with ColubridFest, the things that are going on with CCR. It's
trying to launch this Patreon and get the shorts recorded.
Yeah, it's a lot of moving parts, but it's exciting. I mean, it's fun. There's not been one phone call where we're like, oh, gosh, got to take this call. No, it's The
thing I love the most about it is it's quite literally making me question my profession.
Like, should I just do this full time?
Well, it's kind of funny because I'm not going to not be a professor, but my world is like bureaucracy, built-in bureaucracy wrapped in some red tape. Because I work with the federal government with my grants. I work with the state with grants. I work with students. I work as an administrator in a university. And like, you can never just be like, okay, let's do that. And we're going to do it by this date. And that's the way I work. Like I've said it multiple times. I love jumping off a mountaintop, hypothetically, and I'm plummeting toward the earth and I'm going to die. But I can stick the landing, that's exciting. And with this is the only thing in my, it's not professional life, but it is, a little bit more than just a little thing we're doing, where in the morning, Clint will be like, okay, we're going to do, all right, well, t-shirts, just 2 t-shirts. It was like, okay, I need you to get the CCR design. I need you to turn it into a vector. I need you to send it to me. Can we do that? Like, yes. So I get one of my graduate students. She does that, send it to Clint. And then Clint's like, okay, it's going to cost this much. We're buying them. I literally bought t-shirts for my lab. I'm wearing them right now. This took 4 freaking months. Like, that was an hour and a half. So to me, this is like beyond refreshing to actually come up with an idea and see it through to the end, and then it's done by the end of the day. Like, that's just not the way my universe works.
Yeah.
And then putting the talks together, I've done many symposiums for crayfish, like lots of them, and it's usually with like a professional meeting, and it's the same deal. Like, I've got to wait 3 months to get the abstracts. Then it takes me 2 weeks to get through the abstracts. I know who I want to talk. I know who will bring people there, but it's just the process. And this has been like, so who are we getting to talk? Okay, contact them. Okay, we're done. Like, it feels like a trap. I always feel like
something isn't right here, and I don't like
behind
it.
me, and the bottom's going to fall out at any point. It can't be this easy. Like, that's been
right.
And not that it's easy, but it's like exciting. And then we're done. Like, I don't have to have 5 meetings about the final decision. It's just done. And it was Clint and I, and then on certain things, Clint, Mickey, and I, and we're done. And it's really, 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 really refreshing. But it is truly making me question why I live this nightmare of indecision every damn day. Like,
I feel that, because even though my professional life is not in conservation, I studied a form of conservation, and it's like, even, in as far as wildlife management goes, just to like burn a section of forest, it's a whole process for you to even be allowed to do that, for one, on your own, and for two, to even do it. You have to make phone calls, you have to get permission, you have to do all this stuff. And I can only imagine on the level you are, Zach, of like being insane. Like, there's so many hoops to jump through when it comes to conservation. No. But then when it comes to something like this, it's like, yes, no, okay, done. Like, that's it. Like,
it's just shocking to me. Like, I know that there's times I'm talking to Clint and he has to be like, is he conscious on the other end of the phone? Because I'm so dumbfounded that it can be this straightforward. And
it's like you hit like, one of those moments where it's like something, it feels wrong because it's not supposed to be that easy.
Yes, that's exactly
what it feels wrong. Like, I'm missing something, and then you go through everything and you're like, no, I'm not. But feels
it's so freaking refreshing for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because like my projects, when I get a grant, it's a 3-year project. Every single project is 3 years. But in reality, it's only really 1 year of actual work. And then it's 2 years of paperwork. Like, that's the actual cycle of one of my thesis project grants. It's normally, that's the cycle. And the mere fact that this is like, that's also part of the reason why, if you want a little bit of background, when Clint said we're not doing a barbecue, we're doing a freaking event, I was thinking in my head, oh God, there's no way we can get this done by then. But I don't come from Clint's world. And then Clint's world, you come up with the idea, manifest the idea, get it done, move on to next idea. And so seeing that this is actually the way it is, that's what I mean by it. I'm like, people live this way. You can live it in an efficient way.
You can just make a decision right here and now, and that be that. Like, no,
it's now that comes with risk. I have to say it comes with risk because, when my corporate life before this, there was more red tape. I still had, in the role that I was in prior to exiting, I had a lot of free reign. I could pretty much do what I wanted and make happen for as long as I had a really big box that I could play in. You know what I mean? And as long as I stayed in that box, I could go anywhere in that box I wanted to, up to the edge, however close I needed to get. So, there was still speed, but I mean, there was process. However, if I screwed up, it wasn't my money. It's somebody else is still footing the bill. I still got a paycheck. Where, with this, it's like, if you've got to be sure on what you're doing, because if we make mistakes, we're paying for it. So you have the speed, and sometimes it's, the speed it can hurt you if you're making decisions too fast. and not thought out enough, but it'll help when, even if you make a mistake, you can then pivot a lot faster.
And we can pivot
and go a different direction to compensate for the mistake that was made and continue to move on whatever path it was, that we're after. So, it helps.
Pivoting. But my world is so risk averse that you just don't make the risk. That's the best way to avoid risk, is just don't have them.
And that's like the biggest thing, is like when you're doing it yourself, if you take a risk, it's all on you. You know what I mean? Like, I realize what I'm doing. If I fuck it up, then I take the hit. But like when you work for somebody else, you're like, this might be a real problem if I screw this up, like, and that's with the red tape kind of thing. Like me, I inspect job sites, and it's basically at my discretion whether I find somebody, fail somebody, like whatever. But if I don't fail somebody that I should have, and somebody finds out about it, then it's like, that's my ass, like it's different, like, but when you're the one, like, okay, this is all on me. If it fails, it fails, and so be it. It's just a different type of, there's almost like, there's a thing, job security, it's all nice and dandy when you work for somebody else, but when it's all on you, it's like you kind of know what the risk versus reward is, and there's something to be said for that. There's pros and cons to both.
Yep,
100%. I will say, one of the funny things, that a conversation we had out at IHS, it was Zach, myself, and somebody else, but I don't remember who it was, and we were talking about the corporate jobs that we had prior. And we were talking about basically some of the perks and benefits those particular roles came with. And, as we start listing these different things out, Zach's just kind of looking at us, and he goes, I don't have any of that. and I just pat him on the shoulder and I go, but you guys get all the respect, bud. All the respect. He just kind of looked at me like, fuck you.
I'll give up respect if I could have that. Yeah.
It was great.
Awesome.
What as far as, so with like metazotics and stuff, and colubrids in particular, like what have you guys over the last year or two, like what colubrids seem to be moving the most regularly?
Yellow rats.
I would have to say I answer that in a couple ways, because to say regularly, I mean, there may be a species that I've got 60 of and a species I've got 10 of. You know what I mean? And so did I sell more of them than I had 60 of? Yes, but I sold the ones I had 10 of fast. It kind of thing. So I will tell you, the things that I'm seeing have some of the highest popularity. Gray band kings are, I can't keep them in. I mean, if you've got them eaten and they are even somewhat good looking, they're going to go, especially if it is a locality. I mean, it's going to go. And if you are doing gray band kings, I never try to dictate market or, price, anything like that. But I'm telling you, I see a lot of people that are underselling their gray bands, because it takes some energy to get them going. And they are one of the prettiest natural colubrids out there. So, know your worth, baby. Okay. If you've got gray bands, those are moving very well. I am seeing, let's see, I'm kind of running through things in my head here. Things like black milks, those move fast, always.
Dude, I want black milks, and I kind of hate myself for it. Like, I do, but I don't. But because I like big colubrids,
they're cool, man. They are.
Cool.
I've also been tempted because of you two. So.
I saw you you got some eggs recently, and I was like, Clint, don't do it to me. Don't do it to me.
We both got eggs.
Yeah, that's right.
You have black milk, Zach?
Yeah, my first clutch is in the incubator, and that was the clutch where she laid them, and I was like, shit, I think these are cool incubation. Are they not? And then I called Clint, and then he walked me through it. And it's really funny. In the garage right now, I got one of my sea serpent incubators. It's like loaded, and everything in there is at 80. And then I got this other, it's just one incubator by itself, and it's 3 freaking degrees below 80. It's 77. But Clint said, don't cook those things hot at all.
Run a little lower.
My garage, I would do just throw it on top of a shelf, but I get up to 80 in my garage right now with these damn heat waves we're getting. So
see, y'all are gonna be like a problem for me because like they like don't get me wrong, like
I don't really sell the things. Although I do have all the locality kings from Florida that live where your yellow rats are. So
which we're not even gonna get into that, Zach, because like I have this issue. We've already talked about it.
Yeah.
Me and Zach had a phone call a couple months ago, and it's like I have this urge deep inside of me that's like you need all of them from from that county, and I'm like, no, don't. And then my head's like, yeah, you do.
Yep.
You won't, pussy. Like, like you know. So, but dude, black milks are one of those. Like, I'm not big. I love king snakes, and that's why me and Zach have had conversation. I've never really been super into milks, but for whatever reason, black milks are like, do it.
Yeah, well, if it's any constellation, the black milks and the Hondurans and the South Americans and like that whole group, they're just milk snake in name only. Like they used to be in the triangulum group.
Right.
Now, taxonomically, they're their own thing, and they're as different from a milk snake as a king snake is. We just slapped the name milk snake on them.
Right.
And the blacks are as laid back as a milk snake.
They are awesome.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about them is kind of like it's same but different. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like if you can't tell by the shit that I keep, that's what I like. You know, I keep a lot of the same but different, you know, as far as like at least as far as taxonomy goes, because I don't even want to talk about that. But
I like them a lot. They're also I don't know of anyone that's been bit by a black milk. They are the most chill snake, and I bought them for Zeusai initially, and then we had to like redo the collection plan, and they moved out. But I literally, they're bulletproof. I mean, the only problem you can have with the damn things is you can get them a little too hot.
Yeah.
But
see, I don't have that problem because I always lean colder.
Yeah. No.
And with all my stuff, like as far as literally everything, I know I talked about this on the CCR episode, but everything I keep as far as Colubrid goes is kept the exact same way. And none of them hardly ever break 80 in my room. And it just seems to work, whether it be Western hogs, Eastern rats, or my Pidgeophis. Like it just works, you know, and I'm okay with it. And I'm like, you know, black milks would fit in real well around here.
Yeah.
Like, it's a problem.
Tell you a couple more species that I see. I suck at them, but anyone who's successful with them, subox, those things, I can't keep them. Anytime I have any available, they fly. And what I would tell people, because you know, I've been asked before, like, what's the next big thing? And I really don't think there's going to be a big thing. People are looking for things that aren't the big. People don't want the big thing anymore. People want, you know, these smaller, cool things that there's certain price segments, I will tell you, are popular that if you stay within, you know, people, they don't want it so cheap that it looks like a throwaway animal and it's not impressive to have it, but they don't want it to be a rent payment either. You know, if there's a certain kind of gap that if you stay in, that's a sweet spot. But it's kind of, you know, I said subox, I said gray bands. Southwest, things that are from there tend to be pretty popular in the U.S. as a whole, just from what I'm seeing. I think that some of the things that surprised me last year that moved faster than I anticipated were a lot of locality Easterns. Those really picked up. Yeah. And I didn't think so because I didn't think they would, because that has been a pretty prevalent, you know, species in the hobby for so long. But if you've got good localities, those things really, really moved. When it comes to things like horns, it all comes down to what they are, you know, from what I saw. If you've got if you got good and where you're selling them, like if we're talking about nationally, I didn't do well with corns on a national level, you know, on online sales. I'd have some. For me, corn snakes moved a lot faster in the shop. And so, but at the same time, I can blame that on the corn snakes I had too, because I didn't have any of the, you know, upscale type of, you know, top notch, newer morphs and super combos. We're talking more like butter stripes and
stuff.
Yeah. And so, you know, I would understand why it wasn't, you know, heavy online for me. And I'll also say anything Asian still is popular. It's I don't care whether it's Chinese. I don't care if it's bamboo, Chinese king rats, Vietnamese blue beauties, Ridley eye, Koreans, Japanese, Russian. Every one of those is still very, very popular.
So this is kind of random, but do you see, as a locality nerd, do you see a difference between a generic normal rat snake versus a locality specific rat snake? Like as far as sales and numbers go?
Anytime you put local, so I talked to Chris Montross about this, and and it's funny because we had an agreement. I like to mess with him, just like I mentioned to you before about greenish rats.
No, I was about to say, don't even talk about the greenish, because we're gonna fight. We're gonna fight.
Actually, greenish.
Quite frankly, I agree, because Chris Montross's comment was where those are where they say that it's an intergrade between black and yellow because of the way that it looks in Horry County. And
we need to talk about that, because
but here's the thing. Why? Because I don't disagree with you at all.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't mean I'm not going to call them greenish, because there's a reason I do it. And because Chris Montross, and I'll challenge you here in a second for the same reason.
Okay.
So Chris Montross said, you know, they're not greenish, they're pure yellow. Greenish is a trade name, right?
Yep.
Okay. So we should just call them yellow rats, right?
Yep.
So we don't need to know where any of yours are from, Jake, because by that definition, all localities are just a trade name. If all yellow rats are just yellow rats, if they're all the same species, the locality doesn't matter. Now, do I agree with that statement? No, because I do think locality has relevance, 100%.
100%.
But if we're going to argue on not saying something because it's a trade name, locality at the end of the day, that's what it is. Because
game, said, match.
I mean, that's if a yellow rat's a yellow rat is a yellow rat.
But then if you're going to say that, then you should say an eastern rat is an eastern rat is an eastern rat.
I agree.
So,
that's what I'm saying. It's an
like
argument that I'm in no way am I saying that locality is not important, because as someone I like it to be as segregated as we can when it
100%.
comes to, you know, what's in the hobby. So we can, I hate Texas rat snakes being bred with black rat snakes. Drives me nuts. You know, and I hate that crossover kind of thing. So I'm 100% with the locality. It's just the statement that it shouldn't be called greenish because it's a trade name. I'm like, we can argue both sides on that if we wanted to.
So
what color is it?
I will
Greenish.
argue. I'll argue my point. Okay.
Here we go. You're gonna like this.
So my point, and this is like locality aside, I'm talking about greenish specifically. My argument of the whole like a greenish, I don't have a problem with the term greenish, because they're fucking green. Like, I'm not going to deny that. My problem with it is people saying that a greenish rat is a cross, and it's not, because I have seen a natural occurring cross. Literally wild caught. Somebody brought it to my house and said, "Hey man, I found this like a couple hours away. Like, what do you make of it?" And this was the most perfect, like, black and yellow cross that you could ever think of. It had a yellow head, a very dark body with blotches, and yellow in the black. You know, it was like the most prominent black and yellow cross I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was really weird to look at. And I'm like, okay, this is where that line of integrate, where this came from, is where like it falls on that line of that integrate. To me, the whole greenish thing, it's slapped on a label as yellow and black integrates. And as somebody who has seen a wild caught true integrate, it couldn't be more different. This thing was gigantic. You know, it was like a 6 foot long animal, and it didn't look like a yellow, but it didn't look like a black.
I need to send you some pictures of. I've got a daughter of the original wild caught moonshine, and so this is a het. And I'm going to send you some pictures to give you an idea, because what you're describing sounds a lot like what this is. I do want to say there's another reason why I haven't dropped the greenish moniker, and it's simply because the moonshine is one of those morphs that to a large degree has still been kept locality specific to animals from Horry County. And I know that when I start saying yellow rats instead of greenish rats, that's going to encourage individuals to start breeding that moonshine out of that locality.
And I don't disagree with that at all. Yeah, like I see where your head's at with that. My thing, and again, like this isn't me having a problem with the term greenish. My biggest problem is saying they're an integrate, because I truly don't think that they are, because these things, like if that's the case, greenish go up to North Carolina. Technically, in my area, you could call them greenish. I can send you a picture of one that I had to remove from somebody's house the other day. In my area, technically they're yellows. They're considered yellows. In my area, we're like on like the northern side of like what would be called the yellow.
Right.
But I literally caught an animal the other day that if I told you it was from North Carolina and it was a greenish, nobody would bat an eye.
I caught one, a greenish rat snake.
Yeah, like they look greenish, and also
North Carolina.
Yes, like they
exactly identical to what's in Conant and Collins.
Yes,
because I was like, "What the hell is this thing? It's a black rat with stripes." And then I got in my little field guide. So
see, I found blotched yellow rats here, you know, around this area. They're not striped, they're blotched, you know, but like it's just there's such a fine line. And but like, in my biggest thing with it is like you're not gonna find a black rat for a couple 100 miles in South Carolina, like at least where I'm at. But they look greenish, but I have to drive hours to go find a black. You know what I mean?
And that makes sense. And so one of the things I guess I want to make sure that I'm clear on is, in no way am I disagreeing that now, given obviously when I first got my hands on moonshines and I did my research, if you look up, all you're going to find is, you know, greenish rat snakes are an intergrade. And so naturally that's the information I was given. That's what I go with. Now, am I going to disagree with what this snake is specifically with individuals that their specialty is yellow rat snakes? They live in the area, they're from the area, they search the area. No, of course not. Now, when it comes to the hobby, the market, and how to state it, that's where I start to, you know, give some pushback.
Yeah.
And it's because I understand the ramifications. And I'll give you one other example of that. Love the man to death, Larry Keller. For those of you that know Larry is heavy into Chinese beauties. He does all kinds of morphs, and he has a hypo that personally, I think it's a T negative albino. I think there are multiple lines, and they've been bred together so much that you don't know what you're messing with, you know, half the time. And Larry began calling his hypo because he felt that because of the shade of the pupil, that it wasn't technically an albino. The problem is everyone else that had these Keller hypos in the hobby were calling them albinos. And so if you have one guy, even if he's right, if you have one guy calling this thing something completely different than what everyone in the hobby knows it as, you're now causing confusion on what you own, what you don't own, what's compatible, what's not compatible, and it starts to muddy waters.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's part of where I'm like, I'm not ready to just start putting that out there, you know, as far as yellow rat, because I can see where it starts causing complications to move it away from what it is right now.
With that in mind, though, as I'll say locality snob. I'm an asshole when it comes to locality stuff. To me, whether it's yellow, green, or black, these are all Eastern rats now. We're not even going to get into that because I'll get mad. But to me, if it's not from the same county, it's a cross. Like whether it be and that's where, to me, and again, I'm not going to judge somebody that says like,
can I interject?
Absolutely.
As a fellow locality snob,
100%.
What the hell does the county matter if human beings made up the county?
You're not. Yeah, I absolutely.
I can stand in one county and piss in another.
Absolutely, and I don't disagree with that. But at the same time, it is what we have now. You know what I mean? Like the world, the country is separated by county lines. And but at the same time, it's like technically you could, to be pure, if you want to talk about purity, you could take an Everglades from South Florida, bring it to a black rat in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and it's technically still pure.
Yeah, but all right, now I'm going to science this a little bit because this is what I do when it comes to locality.
Yeah,
that is true at the species level.
Yeah, 100%.
But not at the population level.
No,
species are made up of populations and so on and so forth. And when we get all nutso over locality, what we're really talking about are these populations that express a unique phenotype that we can then ally to a certain geography. So the county to me really doesn't matter as much as the geography piece. Great examples of Gulf hammock rat snake. Gulf hammock rat snake has an extremely unique phenotype. I think there's 2.3 of them in here because I have an addiction to little bastards.
I have more than I ever imagined as far as Gulf hammocks.
And the thing is, that phenotype is allied to the Gulf hammock region of Florida. And I know, like, there are locality people that'll basically get down to the part of the Gulf hammock you're in. But my ethos, dogma, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to locality, is it doesn't matter if it's at the north end of the Gulf hammock, the south end, the dead center, the eastern, the western portion of it. For that species in my collection, if it has that phenotype and it's from that particular ecological region, then it's a Gulf hammock rat snake. That's one of the things that drives me crazy about like Means Eye, because it's not Means Eye, it's Liberty County Means Eye. And I'm like, well,
right.
But the snakes don't give a shit.
Yeah.
but the people do.
People do.
So, I'll go back to Jake, your original question about do locality animals, sell faster, sell, more up. And
I forgot I even asked that.
You did. and I wanted to answer all that to come back and say this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they absolutely do. And it's because the more, I don't know what term I should use here, history, the more data points, the more fluff I could call it if I wanted to, but the more that can be attached to an animal,
yes,
an individual gives it more value in their mind. And so the more lineage they could trace, even if it's just to the county or even if it's to a line. And, on one episode in this, I'm not taking credit for this. I'm just taking credit for being the person who actually said the term. So have you guys heard of Sherman line Okeetees?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was not a term ever used until I sold some.
Yeah.
And the story behind that was I was gifted a pair of those at a Daytona show from Howie Sherman. And at the time, there was the Love Line Okeetees and Abbott's. That was it. Now, I raised these. I knew that Howie's, from what I heard from him and other people, Howie's Okeetees, they got big, like 6 foot. They were, they were gorgeous Okeetees and massive. So I bred my Okeetees, from him, as well as I had Abbott's and Love at the time. But those particular, I didn't put them out for sale as Okatee corns. These were Sherman line Okatee corns whenever I was selling, because there was a difference in them to me and to my knowledge from what I'd been told about, how they grew. And that's what I put them out as. And in the beginning, the first 2 years I did that, I would have messages. What are Sherman line? And I would explain. These came from Howie Sherman. The ones that he works with, they tend to get bigger. They, kind of have this look to them, yada, yada. And I ended up getting out of corns completely within a few years of that point. And I backed away. I've come back to a degree, and it's amazed me now that here we are 18 years later, something like that, 15, 18 years later, and I'm hearing Sherman line Okatees being sold, traded. This person's got them in it and all that. And so the whole point behind that is a lineage carries weight.
100%.
County carries weight. My falsies that I sell, yeah, go ahead. Smile, big guy.
Loughman line.
Goddamn right. Those are Loughman line falsies.
Yeah.
Because they came from the man that wrote the book on them. Of course I'm going to put that name, with them, because, and it's not a lie. It's not just a marketing tactic, because anybody who has those falsies can now say that.
Yeah.
It's, and I'm going to make you blush, fella, because anytime somebody's even talking to me about a falsie in the shop, I'm like, okay, so this one right here, come here, I'm going to show you something cool. And I walk them over to my book section, and I pull that book out, and I'm going, this is where they came from. All the falsies that come in this shop come from this guy right here. And they're, because it carries weight. We like to have story behind it. We don't just want to have, you don't just want yellow rats, Jake. You want county yellow rats.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you want the story behind it. And for you, your stories go even further, because, half of them you can say, this is where I found it under this log. This is what I was doing that day when I collected these parents. And,
I have GPS coordinates to some of these things. And, it's funny though, as far as like locality goes, like Zach, I'm sure you can relate. To me, the county in general is more important than anything else. But some counties are very large. Hernando County, for example, you have Hernando County Kings. I have Hernando County rat snakes. All four animals I have are very, very different. But because they're the county, but you also have to take into consideration the cities. The cities are different. And then when you get into Okatees, it's almost even more messy as far as Okatees go, because if you talk to Chris Montross, shout out to the GOAT. If you talk to him, a true Okatee corn comes from Hunt Club. Hunt Club is, and you're talking to two guys that are local to this area. Like I can be in Hunt Club in 35 minutes. I can be in Okatee Hunt Club in 35 minutes. So it's like, as an Okatee corn is concerned, like, where do you draw the line? Is it from the area that is known as Okatee? Because that can be in Beaufort County, or that can be in Jasper County. They are still both considered Okatee area, but you take Hunt Club into consideration, then it's just Jasper County, and these are Hunt Club specific Okatees. And it's like, where do you draw the line?
Those are a little different, because for whatever reason, Okatee has become synonymous with normal.
Yeah, Okatee is a look now, not a locality.
Yes, and I promise you that, and that's what really bugged me, is because when we were in South Florida a couple weeks ago, we found a corn snake. It was me, Sky, and Phil. We road cruised this corn snake. I promise you, without a shadow of a doubt, this corn snake was phenomenal. If I would have taken that corn snake, slapped the label Okatee on it, and sold it at a show, nobody would have batted an eye, because this thing looked identical to every single freaking Okatee that you would see at a show. And I promise you, nobody would have even questioned me, because of the way it looked, the black borders, the deep reds, the dark oranges on it. Like,
Well,
nobody would have thought twice if I said this is an Okatee.
yeah, I think that Craig Trumbauer has a great point when it comes to localities, and the Okatee is the prime example of this. I think that
it's the pinnacle.
Yes, and it's that there's not been any other locality reptile that has been bred for so long that the best have continued to be kept and bred to make that animal so spectacular looking when you go back and compare it to the originals. You know what I mean? Or what you find.
Nothing. You will not find you can go into Hunt Club. I've Roker's Hunt Club several times, never once found a corn snake. Okay. But I promise you, what you see in the hobby that is an Okatee is not what you see.
Oh no, I've seen pictures.
Same with Loma Alta bears.
Yes, they're not the same.
Is the best examples of that locality put together for generations.
It's the product of 30, 40 years of breeding these things.
You might find some that come close to it or still look really good, but I think to assume that all the bears from in the Loma Alta area are all going to be that just bright silver with the crazy orange, like,
no,
I doubt it.
No.
Yeah,
and like Craig says, it's because whenever we're holding animals back, we're holding back the 10s. We're not holding back the 5s. 100%. Kind of thing. And so he's got an excellent point. And I think that with enough time, there may be other localities of different species that we see that happen. It's just none have happened to the degree that an Okatee corn is, to where, localities bred out of it completely. It's all a look.
Yeah.
I have
that on Corn Stars one night. Was like, at what point can you no longer even call it an Okatee? Because if you're, breeding it almost out of so far away from the original parents and things, it's like, at what point is it no longer like a real Okatee and just a really nice normal?
Yeah. I have pictures of a corn snake that I found that was not an Okatee. It wasn't in Jasper County at all. It would give every Okatee corn snake in the hobby a run for its money. I found that one time, not even in Okatee, but I promise you, like, people, I've showed it to a couple people. One guy shared it on a story and it was like, he found the perfect corn snake. And this thing was this dark red with solid black saddles that was just incredible. And that's like what almost annoys me is, like, I could show you this animal and be like, oh, that's a nice Okatee. Nope. Wasn't even in the right county. Like, there's so many factors that go into it. So it's like, that's why at the end of the day, the county is what I care about, you know? And even that, like, I talk about white oaks, like my Apalachicola white oaks. There's a reason we call them Apalachicola white oaks, is because they're not from, technically, like, I have Montrose's line of them. They're not from the same county. They're from Franklin and Liberty, but they were found a matter of a couple 100 yards apart. It was just over that border. So it's like the snakes don't give a shit.
No,
like, they were right there. Like, they very well could have crossed that line, bred, came back, like, whatever, you know? So it's like, where do you really draw the line? You know?
And that's, like I said, that's why, the argument can be made that locality is a type of trade name, and it's okay if it is. I'm not upset with it, because in my mind, the more we can differentiate these animals, the better off we are, because, as we've heard Zach and I discuss how often, taxonomy may change, but if we've got them separated, if they're getting lumped together, it's still,
I just
wish Zach to get his people.
I just wish they were at least subspecies, man. It bothers me.
I don't know if that would be better or worse.
it would be so much better for me. I'm not saying like, because I have the Drawn to Scales poster right here on my wall that I look at every day, and I hate it because it's like one of those things. I keep so many of these things, and they're all so different. They act different. Their body structure is different. Their color's different. And I just want to be like, they're not the same, man. Like, they're not. They can't be. And
but
they are.
But they're not.
But they're not.
But the thing about this is something that is really deep to start talking about 1 hour and 55 minutes in.
Yeah.
But the people that describe species like me, when you actually work with that concept, this is one of the very few areas where I think herpetoculturalists need to spend more time reading about species, not species of snakes, not Burbrink's paper, but just what is a species? That question is like, you have the answer to that, you're Yoda. Because the reality of that is, and this is what I do with my students at school. Species don't exist. They're artificial, and they're created by human beings as a construct to organize all of life. Right. That's what a species is.
100%.
So when we get like butt hurt that a guy like Burbrink rolls in and gets rid of all of our subspecies, the thing is, you don't have to adopt that. Now,
and I don't. I promise you, I don't.
Speaking of said your imaginary friend,
I tried to get across on our rat snake episode, and it's really funny because I literally shared a meme today on my Facebook page, which is like perfect for this.
Yeah, I saw it.
Is when the scientists roll in that have an idea of what constitutes a species because they're testing these ideas, and that idea doesn't jive with what we like. That's when we all get like super butthurt. Like, I don't want to get rid of all the subspecies of rat snakes. I really don't. It makes sense. But the science evolved, and the science that evolved enabled us to look at that thing's DNA. And now what we know is that the DNA of these animals mutates, and it mutates at a genetic level that doesn't act on the phenotype of the same way. And so you end up with these polychromatic, multicolored animals that are all the same thing genetically, but even then they're not the same thing. And I think what we all need to do with things like this is just like embrace the nerd, read about the science, because it actually makes them interesting. So I want you to, let's do a counteract here. How many species do you know where there are 5 different versions of it? That is really freaking cool. Like, there's a way to look at Burbrink's paper. Not that I'm defending him. This is just what you do in science, is you have your way, so you devil's advocate it. These animals are so incredible that they can come up with a different color phase to live in a sand-based forest versus an Appalachian mountain, and they're the same damn thing. Like, that's really freaking cool.
Yeah.
And then they get smaller when they're on a key. That's really freaking cool. It just pisses people off because we apply humanity to it, like rules, like, and that's when everybody really gets jacked.
And the problem,
the whole thing up.
Well, and you're right. It is neat. I mean, it's cool as hell, especially when you're talking about rat snakes. To your point, that they can, everything that they're able to do and how spread and diverse they can be. Now, but one pushback is when you said we don't have to adopt it. The problem is when DNR does.
Yeah.
Because then we do have to adopt it, because then it's half your collection may be illegal for you now.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So that's where it becomes super frustrating.
It becomes real.
Yeah.
And that's like my biggest thing. That's why, like, my biggest thing is like, it's not on a species level, it's on a subspecies level. And it bugs me when you take physical attributes out of the equation. I understand the genetic makeup, they may all be the same. That is 100% relevant. I don't deny that at all. Obviously, I'm not a fucking scientist, but I also keep all of these things on a very serious level. And it's like, I see the physical difference, and I feel like that needs to be taken into account as far as a subspecies level. They may be the same. Again, it goes into like same but different. You know what I mean? That's why it's like I wish they were at least different subspecies, like they were. They were all freaking obsoletus. Pantherophis obsoletus or whatever, and that's fine. And I was okay with that, but it was the Quadrivitatus, it was the Deckardi, it was the Rosalini. That was like, okay, that satisfies the itch that I have, and I'm okay with that.
And at the same, and I'll admit, part of it, it's because that's what I grew up knowing,
right?
And it's human nature to hate that kind of shift. The older you get, the less you like it. Yeah. So. It's part of it's just stomping the feet.
And I will say it probably bugs me more because now people with black rats and Everglades will breed them together and say it's pure. And that makes me want to punch a friggin' hole in the wall.
Well, especially if, when it gets changed to where it's, let's just say changed back, so to speak.
Right.
And now you've got the, how many mutts in the industry.
Exactly.
That's
So. It's messy. That's why me and Montrose have the we're of the same mindset of and that's why I may come off as a snob saying county to county whatever, but that's what makes it pure to me.
But that's a little bit better than the Alterna folks.
Yeah.
They want to know what rock you found it under.
That's if it didn't come out, it didn't come from the same cut, then go fuck yourself.
Because technically, and I'm not doing this, I am saying the disclosure piece because somebody's going to hear this and take it out of context. So do not take it out of context. But for me, with the localities, there's Pasco County, Pinellas County, Hernando County, with Floridana. And the Pascos look different than everybody. They've got the purplish gray flecking modeling. The Pinellas counties, we'll just say wide-banded Pinellas counties. They look like an Eastern King and a Floridana bred together, and you get this Eastern King out of it. That's also a Florida King with yellow bands. And then the Hernandos, the thing I like about the Hernandos is they get this kind of really weird chocolatey brown, and they're just brutish in their shape. In reality, by using the definition I use biologically, they're pretty much all isolated the Gulf side of Florida, west of the the Great Sand Ridge that goes down the middle of the state. And they're south of the Gulf Hammock in this kind of nice little nook. So for that phenotype, you could totally breed Hernandos to Pascos and probably still get that region, but get that phenotype. But I would consider that a blasphemous act.
Yeah, I was about to say, what's the fun in that?
So I was the guy that just was like, oh, it's the geography. So I think that with every locality person, there's their own definition, and I even think that within the subcultures of locality keeping, there's definitions, like what we just said with the Alterna people. So,
and it's all up to the individual. I couldn't give a shit if you breed a black rat to an Everglades. If you want to do that, that's fine. Will I like it? No. Will I buy it? Absolutely not. So it's I'm not going to turn my nose up to somebody that does that, because everybody does.
I'm not going to like it. I'm going to say, don't do that shit.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you ask me, I'm going to tell you don't but at the same time, it's people do that with everything. You look at carpet pythons, people breed jungles to Papuans and coastals all the time to get a certain morph, and it's okay, it's accepted, whatever. And that's down to the individual. And it's the same thing with morphs. When you take morphs into the factory, you want to cross this morph with that morph to get this pretty looking thing, abomination, then whatever, but to a guy like me that's why, like, I don't say Eastern rat. I say it's this county of this color phase, and that's that. You know, it's not a absolute. It's not a Pantherophis allegheniensis. It's a gray rat from Hamilton County. It's a yellow rat from Hernando County, because that simplifies it. You know, it's easy. And that's the way I look at it, you know. Do what you want to do, and that's also why, like, I am so scared to dabble my toes into king snakes, because it's going to be a real problem. And
then you can convince Justin to do it too.
Yeah, no, that's why, like, Zach, that where are my king snakes at, man?
Yeah, oh, they're hatching right now.
I'm waiting. I've like been patiently like, okay, just wait for Zach. I'm waiting for the first picture, because I know you're not going to message me first, and I'm waiting for that first picture to be like, Zach, where are they at?
Oh, yeah. All good.
Yeah, but the Pasco County stuff is especially cool to me, because like I have
it was on live PD.
I have wild caught Pasco County animals. I have produced F1s last year, and I'm like, man, it'd be cool to have king snakes and rat snakes from the same county. And I'm like, man, I wonder what the corn snakes look like over there. But I don't know, man. It's a whole thing, but I love it. And that's like the same reason I love it is the same reason I hate it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so cool, and it drives me fucking insane, but it's still so satisfying to me. It scratches the herper in my brain. It just scratches an itch that I need, and it's fantastic. So
cool.
Yeah.
Where can people stay in the loop as far as ColubridFest announcements and happenings?
Take that, Clint.
Sure. A couple places. One, obviously, if you listen to each episode of CCR, we're going to update every single episode. But we will also post on the Colubrid and Colubrid Radio Facebook page. But there is a group called Official ColubridFest, and it is on Facebook. And Zach, myself, Mickey, all have access to that. And so we will continue to send updates there. That's a great place to ask questions as well. Because some questions will be in my arena, some questions will be in Zach's, some will be in Mickey's, and that way all of us have access to it. Mm-hmm. We are going to, as Zach continues to lock in more and more guests and topics on for the panels and the presentations, we will slowly begin announcing those. We kind of have decided we don't want to announce the whole roster at once. Instead, we'd like to put individual short biographies out. So, you know, here's the topic, here's who's speaking, and here's why this person is speaking on this topic, kind of thing. So it makes sense and is relevant. So look forward to those coming out soon. I think as far as the show, one of the big questions that is still being asked regularly, and I know Mickey is working on, is a hotel block. As far as, discounted rates for local hotels. What I would recommend to everyone, if you're able to book your hotel now in a way that's refundable, do that. That way you've got your hotel. Mm-hmm. And then when the block comes out, if this is a better rate than whatever you got, wherever you were, and this is somewhere you want to stay, cancel that one, book this one. If not, hey, you're safe. You got your hotel booked. You're good. So no sense in waiting on that if that's your only holdup is wanting to see what that's going to be. The tickets, I think the show tickets are $10 or $65 covers the entire weekend for you. Get you into all the talks, get you into the mixer, get you into the auction, get you into the show, the whole shebang. That was a big thing for us, as we wanted to ensure that we kept it very affordable and make it we want as many people there as possible. That's what it's about. But yeah, follow us on those groups. And you can also at any time message Zach or myself. You can message me at metazotics@gmail.com or on Facebook. Zach, if you want to share your email so they know how to grab you.
Yeah, you can get me at Dr. Crawdad on Instagram, Zach Loughman on Facebook. is the best way to do it.
Yep. You can also message us on our Colubrid
Yeah.
and Colubrid Radio Facebook page. That comes to
Oh,
the
got
two
that
of us as well.
Awesome.
And of course, if you didn't hear that, you can message one of us and we'll put you in contact with either of these two fine gentlemen.
That's right.
And we'll be seeing Smitty and Jake at ColubridFest.
We will.
So
you'll probably be seeing me. I don't know where.
slap that guy up there next to you.
I don't know
and
where.
make
I
him
don't,
get in there.
I don't know where Smitty's at with it, but
Narc his ass and shove him in the car.
That's right.
I mean, he's a big guy.
Nice
shove him in the
nap.
car.
he won't fit in my suitcase. But you know, I
think
might
what we're
make-
going to do is we're going to order a bunch of CCR tumblers from him and tell him that we're only going to take them if they're hand delivered.
Yes.
So
There you go. There you go. I was actually going to bring something up. You know, Zach, you talked about shirts for the school. I was like, you know, it took 4 months because you didn't go through Fulvius Apparel to get them.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Well, speaking of, the show is brought to you by Fulvius Apparel. Use code THN at checkout. Get 15% off your order. It's the exclusive promo code for THN listeners and viewers like you. It doesn't get posted anywhere else. Steve Snaketuary's Venom Hot Sauce. Get the whole set. Check it out. SteveSnaketuary.com. BlackBoxCages.com. You need a rack, you need a cage. Black Box Cages is all the rage. Use the code THN24 at checkout. Get a little bit off the top. Regional pickup if you're in sort of the southeast, Georgia, South, the Carolinas, whatever, Florida. I guess if you're down where Phil is, you might as well be on the moon. You can make that trip, but check it out. Plenty of options for just about anything you could need a cage or rack for. They're available. And if you have any questions, message the page, get a hold of somebody, ask a question, get an answer.
Very
Help
responsive. Very, very responsive. You're not going to send a message and get a response 2 weeks later. It's not how they work. So if you have any questions, message them. It's good stuff. And obviously, if you have any questions about ColubridFest, message Zach or Clint, get your answers. They will respond to you. Zach may take a little longer. Love you, buddy. But
Because I'm sitting in all that red tape.
Yep. Absolutely. But message either of these guys about ColubridFest, and if you're even interested in going, go. Just do it.
Don't think about it. Just do it.
Yeah, just do it. Yeah.
please do.
3, 2, 1, go.
It'll be worth it. So definitely hit them up. If you have any questions, visit the Facebook pages. And if you want to message me or Justin about it, we put you into the right contacts for these guys. So make it happen.
Is Flippin' 10 happening next week? Or
Yes, Flippin' 10 is happening next Thursday. We already have a guest lined up. As you already know, we're not going to tell you. You have to.
First, just so everyone knows, he doesn't even tell me. So
No, I tell me and Sky and the guest are the only people that know who's going to be on the show.
I would hope the guests would know they're going to be on the show.
Absolutely. So that, and then again, that's just something that we try to make fun for the listeners. Is, you know, granted, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I feel like if we told people, we might have more live viewership, but at the same time, what's the fun in that? We don't want you to listen because of who we're having on. We want you to listen because you love field herping. So that's why we do that. But Flip 10 is happening next week. We have somebody lined up as long as everything goes well. Tune in live. And if you can't, then it'll be on all your podcast listening platforms.
That's right.
Cool.
And of course, check out Colubrid and Colubrid Radio. I'm sure if you listen to us, you probably listen to these guys. But if you don't, you should. It's my favorite podcast. And I about pissed my pants when I was asked to be on the episode. I was on their most recent episode. And I can't thank you guys enough for having me on.
He was like, dude, I'm so nervous. I was like, why?
What the hell?
Dude, I'm telling you, man, it was so weird because it was like, I don't know, man. Like it just felt weird because I was doing all this stuff and I was like, man, I wonder if I'll ever be cool enough to be on that show. And then like literally that weekend, Zach messaged me and I was like, It was just weird. So it was an absolute honor to be on the show, guys. I certainly appreciate it. If you want to hear me babble some more about some bullshit, you can check out their episode. Which, by the way, like I got several more followers on my personal page as soon as that episode dropped. So that was cool. Awesome. I was like, damn. It's kind of cool. So thank y'all for the opportunity. It was a lot of fun.
We appreciate you coming. We love what you guys do. I mean, you know, it's to hear you being so excited to come on board, you know, and chat with us. It's so much of what we do is from watching so much of what you guys have done, you know, so thanks, you know, man. We are big fans of you fellas and all that you continue to do.
It means a lot. And
thank you.
And it was funny because like Clint, like I feel like I've known you for a long time. I've known who you are for several years. Never once had a conversation with you, but it's like, all right, now like I can finally say me and Clint have spoken before.
Love it. Love it.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all for listening, whether you watch us on YouTube or whatever,
listened in the shower or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it may be. You could be listening to anybody or listening to us, and we certainly appreciate it. Clint and Zac, you guys were fantastic. Glad to actually have you guys on a THP episode. And
this is the first time we've done a show together that was an art.
Yeah. Wonderful. I love that. And I believe, Clint, this is the first time you've been on THP, right?
Yes, it is. It is.
Needs a solo episode.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
I'll say it for him.
Beautiful.
Smitty had me on Snakes and Stogies. He's like, we're done with this guy. That's never happened again.
Oh wait.
We need to hash out this greenish thing in a little bit more detail. So we'll have you on.
Let's do it.
Good stuff, fellas. Well, thank y'all so much for coming on, and we'll see you at ColubridFest.
See you there.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.